Hi guys, and welcome to the Mastering Change Management and Versioning with Metadata session. Um, this is an audio track that lasts around 20 minutes, and in this session I'll be talking a little bit about this. So basically around metadata. First thing I will cover or attempt to is talk a bit about what is metadata. So metadata is data about data. So it's kind of a set of data that gives you information about another piece of data. In ClickLearn, you can use it to categorize and brand and identify data without having to change or read specific, like open a document to see what it is. You can kind of see it in its properties. And you can use it to use categorization and tagging, so you have an easy overview in ClickLearn of which version you're on and who made it and who approved it and stuff like that. So there are a few different places in ClickLearn you can view the metadata. You can use it in your recordings. You can have it shown in the HTML view. You can use it for categorization within ClickLearn Studio, just for your authors, your learners need to be non-device, so if you don't want them to. You can also choose to display it in Word and PowerPoint if you want. And then I'll talk a bit about how to use metadata in change management. Yeah, so let's go ahead and pop into ClickLearn Studio here. 1 second. There we go. That is not it. So in ClickLearn Studio, if you go to the properties of a recording, here you have some of the metadata. For this could be, for example, the title, and you have your description down here, and as well as the document ID, for example. You could have like a process attached or a topic. You can have the authors and the editors, etc. And you can have some kind of status, if it's a draft, final, whatever you want. And of course, most commonly used, the revision, and of course the revision date. So you can use this in ClickLearn Studio, for example, if you want to have some place in your document where you want to tell a bit about which document ID it is, or if you want to refer back to any of the metadata tags. For example, you may want to have somewhere in your documentation, you want to say, if you have any changes to the document, please refer to the approver, for example, or back to the author, and you can pull it in without having to manually type anything. You can just pull it in directly from the properties of the document, right? So here I've used a metadata tag, which is %m, that pulls the metadata from the CL doc ID. This was the document ID you saw on the properties tab. This one I called ClickLearn ID 001, so it's easy to identify. I've just chosen the first three here because that's all I think is necessary for this particular document. So that's how you can use it in a recording itself. Let's look at how it can be used in the finalized content too. Yeah. So in the portal which I've created, let's go ahead and view that. Here is a portal, and I have a description. This is step-by-step guides, etc. And I have given this shelf. This is a shelf. I've given ID 01 because this company will have more than one shelf, but this is just their first one. And in here we have some ClickLearn how-tos. And up here you can see, as you saw in our document, we have a similar setup in here with the metadata up there. And you can also see the metadata present down here in the bottom right, below the table of content. You can choose which data you want here. You can also remove it if you don't want it. We could also have something else. Some people like to have the topic down here to kind of give the learner a reference of where they are on the site. So this is just a small portal with 2 recordings. It could be a big portal with hundreds of recordings. Then it's nice to have some sort of reference point. In the Word document, what I've done here is I've made a cover page for my Word document. This up here pulls in the title. And then we have, the document ID and the author, and we have a revision number. This is the cover page I chose to make. Then in the bottom, we have some tags, so you always know where you are, in which process you're in, and in which topic you're on. And yeah, that's it. Then on every footer, I have these. I have three listed. Ideally, you could also have the document ID down in the corner here. So if you ever printed this out and had it on your desk, and you accidentally threw away the cover page, then you would always know on which revision you were. So you don't sit there with an outdated instruction performing work that needs to be redone. And let's have a look at the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint also gives you opportunities to use the metadata. So let's just have a look at that. And there we go. All right. So let's see here. Here we have I just slapped this on here. I'm no graphical designer anyway. I just wanted to show how it can be used. So I have my title in the middle. I have the author down there, and revision number, and then we have the document ID, right? So I just kind of put it in here so you can see what's what. That is it. Now, how do you set this up? Let me show you in Studio here. So the metadata is pulled, is of course pulled from the properties like you saw. Now, in ClickLearn Studio, the tags you can use are visible in here. It takes a bit of time to open. All right, so let's pop into here. They're all listed here. So here we can kind of see the title, description, keywords. It's also metadata word. Then we have the doc ID, process, status, revision date, etc. So this is kind of the format you want to be using. And to just kind of show you how it's been done in our documents themselves, let's just pull those up. Those are here. So let's have a look at the PowerPoint first, because that is the simplest one. So in here you have, PowerPoint is very easy because you just use a double hashtag and then M for metadata and then the title, right? So for title, and then we have CL revision, CL author, CL doc ID, etc., like you saw in the template settings themselves. So that's kind of how they're pulled in. Everybody's pulled in with hashtags in this constellation. And if we go to the Word, it's a little bit different, right? I have left them blank. You have a placeholder for the metadata in Word. If you're familiar with metadata in Word, you probably know this, but that's how it's done. I have chosen to leave them blank for the reason that if I do not fill out one of them, it's not going to have the placeholder there. It's not going to say author and then MCL author down here. It's just going to be blank because someone didn't fill it out. I've chosen to leave this one with the color with the placeholder there, and you'll see it in a minute. I did that because I wanted to color it and see how it looked on the backdrop. I wanted to be readable. So let's see if we go to info and then properties, advanced properties, custom. Here we have our different document ID metadata tags. And as you can see, the title has its value listed still. So this is pretty much all you do. You just put in the name that like you saw in the template, and you have a value. The value is just a placeholder, and that's it. Then you just bring it in from I believe it's from the it's from the insert object. That's how you can add it in here. So regarding the let's just circle back to the versioning. So what you can do in ClickLearn is that you can go ahead and view your metadata down here. So that will now show me all the different tags that we've added, and I can see the revision here. Now, let's say I wanted to update the revision of this to 1.2 as well. What I've done to make it easy for myself is that out here I have made a folder. I made a folder for each, right? So I have a revision folder called 1.1 and a revision folder called 1.2. So what I would do is that I would just open this. Here we go. And I would save it as, I would go into the folder 1.2 and just save it there. And then I would, of course, change the metadata for this in here. There we are. So now what I would do is go into my book because I need to update that, right? So I'll go into my book. I can then see on the path that I've decided that this is in the revision 1. So let's find the other one. How to change. One second. There we go. So as we can see, one of them is now the outdated version. We'll just pull that back out. And now we could, in theory, produce and publish our book again. Oh, sorry, produce and publish our portal again, and it will then have the updated version. So yeah, people are typically using the metadata. I was asked this on the last session. People are typically using it to track the revision number. And also, a lot of people who are adopting ClickLearn, they often come from an environment where you have the old SOPs, for example, and you're used to people referring to a process not by its name, but by its code. So they know the ID. They may know all the IDs for the processes, but they don't necessarily know the names. So it's nice for them to have a kind of a reference up here, so you have a better control over what your documents are. So yeah. I think just circle back into this. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think it pretty much covers the metadata topic. If you have any questions, please go ahead.
Right, thank you, Morten. So guys, please jump into questions pane or the chat pane and fire away your questions and serve them to Morten. And while you guys are typing away your questions, Morten, we already have one that I can read up here, asking, are there any pitfalls in using metadata in ClickLearn?
I think the only pitfall you have is maybe it's a discipline pitfall. So let's say you have 5 authors, and sometimes someone forgets to update the metadata. You might think you have an outdated document where it's not, or if you rely on someone to actually use it for your tagging system and your indexing when you're searching and stuff like that, and if it's not properly tagged, then you might not be able to find it correctly. So as with many other things, I mean, you need to kind of be aligned on the process of using the metadata. And yeah, I think that's the only pitfall I can really think of right now.
All right. I don't see any other questions at the moment. But guys, we will give you a minute more in case you have any regarding metadata, using metadata, and mastering change management and so on with ClickLearn.
And with that being said, of course, you are always welcome to leave your questions on the hub, or just leave them in the chat here afterwards, and we'll make sure that all questions are answered. and the answers would be available to you after the session.
Yeah, I can see we have one. Have a couple of questions coming in here. So one is saying, where can we see the recording so we can review them? It will be shared on the community. So after the conference, we will publish all the sessions as individual videos that you can view on our community. And you should all have been invited to join the community. Otherwise, the address is community.clicklearn.com. I can see we have another question also here about whether there are any improvements coming around approvals. In general, we can maybe say that there is a session about some exciting new developments in ClickLearn a little bit later. It's called A Peek Under the Hood of the New ClickLearn at 3 p.m., where Joachim, Michael, and our colleague Mads will be talking a little bit about some improvements. So I think go in there, and I'm pretty sure that that will be the right forum for that question in particular. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, we have a good question here. Can an external versioning tool integrate with the metadata in ClickLearn? For example, Git.
That's a very good question. I don't actually know. I think that is something I'd like to investigate. I'd like to check out what Git is, for example, and just find out. I mean, if the data is there in the file and it's available in Word, etc., there should be an option to extract it. It's also written into the web page code, so I don't see why it's not possible. But I'd like to investigate it further before giving you a firm answer on that.
And just to make sure that we don't give an incorrect answer here, because I honestly also am not entirely sure, but we will look closer into that question after the conference also, and make sure that we post an accurate answer on the community in case this is, for example, possible. Also, how can you do this? But great question. All right, we're running out of time. So unless we have any final questions coming in, and it doesn't look like it, I would like to say thank you to you, Morten, for this session on mastering change management and versioning with metadata, and thank you all for listening in. There will be a short break. You can stay on the line, of course, if you want to attend the next session that will be hosted in this room, or you can go back to the hub if you want to switch to a different room with a different session. All right, we will see you later. Bye for now.